Hi, and welcome back to Wounded on Sixes. Today we're going to be reviewing the recently released auxiliary cadre for the Tau Empire. As many of you know, or viewers have seen this channel or are subscribers, I do play Tau competitively, at least for 10th edition I have been, and I've had some pretty decent success for only my second year playing competitively. So Tau Empire has treated me well, and I kind of really like this auxiliary cadre. I don't think it's what a lot of people were expecting, especially from the preview we got yesterday. A lot of people were having this vehicle speculation, and we didn't have any of that come to mind. So what we have today is the auxiliary cadre, and what it says is crew and Vespid Stingwing models from your army have the targeting triangulation, so that while an enemy unit is within 9 and visible to that unit, each time a ranged attack is made by a Tau model, excluding Kroot, Vespid, and Titanic models, that enemy unit, you improve the armor penetration characteristic by 1. So essentially, as your Kroot and Vespid units get close to the enemy, uh, within 9 inches of them, when your Tau target those units, you get +1 AP. That is pretty cool. Again, I don't think that Tau really have a problem with AP, unlike a lot of other armies, but this will make it so that a lot of those weapons in our army are going to be that much better. I'm thinking particularly things like fire knives with missiles, because they're only AP1, bringing them up to AP2, 2 damage. That's going to make them that much better. I also think that this kind of like promotes bringing a wider range of the army, and this is exactly what I wanted to see. It's a little different than what I thought, but we're going to keep reading on because there's more to this detachment rule than just that. So then it says Tau units from our army, excluding Kroot and Vespid, obviously, get the localized stealth projectors, where essentially friendly Kroot and Vespid Stingwing models that are wholly within 6 inches invisible to those Tau Empire units basically get 18-inch lone op. This is okay. Definitely not as good, I think, as the first part of the detachment. And the reason is because it's the holy that is kind of the problem. What that essentially means is you have to have your units of Kroot or Stingwings packed closely together to get this buff, and it's only an 18-inch stealth op. This is going to be really good for preventing your Kroot units from getting picked off early in the game, like when you're in your deployment zone. So in that aspect, I think it's going to be very, very useful for keeping those units alive. I don't see myself starting with Vespid Stingwing units on the board, but I mean, again, this works for all Kroot units. So we're thinking carnivores, we're thinking rampagers, we're thinking Krutox riders. There's a lot of utility to this, and again, this also counts for all of the Kroot characters as well. So again, I think the usefulness of this is definitely for more smaller units. Again, I think it's going to be hard to have a unit of 10 carnivores with wholly within 6. I guess if you're really using them to screen out some of your larger battle suits, that could be really useful. So again, I think if you're moving in that kind of direction where you're always going to have your Kroot in front of your battle suits, which was kind of like a really good thing to do last edition, giving them lone op is pretty good. Again, it's only 18-inch lone op, so it's not as great. They still will be targeted, but like Kroot carnivores already have stealth, so it'll help keep them alive longer. And then again, if they're out in front of us, wholly within 6 inches, we really could use the targeting triangulation in concert with that. So all in all, I think this is a pretty decent detachment rule. I was kind of hoping to see that Kroot and Vespid, or at least Kroot, would be able to do for the greater good. I think this is pretty decent. I think that the increase to armor penetration, like I said, is going to help things like breachers. will be helped by that. Anything that's AP1 going to be going to AP2, and since we have so much ignore cover in the army, it's going to make that AP that much better. It doesn't really do anything for our lack of devastating wounds, which we have in the army, but it is definitely flavorful, and I like that it forces you to kind of use your entire army instead of keeping them all separated. So this is a pretty decent detachment roll. So we're going to move on to the enhancements. Next we have Student of Cayenne for 15 points, and this is Crew Shaper model only. In the declare battle formation step, you can select 3 Crew Carnivore or Farstalker units from their army, and those units get the Deep Strike ability. Um, That's pretty cool. I could see an argument for deep striking a bunch of carnivores. It's a shame that we can't bring carnivores in units of 20 anymore. Um, at least I don't think. Or can we bring units of 20? I'll have to check on that. Hold on a second. Can we bring them in units of 20? Oh, we can bring them in units of 20. My mistake. Again, I don't normally play Crew Carnivores. I haven't played them much because I don't play the Crew Detachment, and because the Crew have not been useful for the greater good, I just haven't found that many uses for them. But this is pretty impressive that we can give three 20-man carnivore units deep strike. There could be a lot of utility in that. That would definitely take some brainstorming there, but that could be definitely very powerful. Three 20-man carnivore units. Especially if you attach that to like a deep striking, like some deep striking crisis suits as well. Now you have those 20-man carnivore bricks possibly having 18-inch loan up as well. So that could be super powerful. I don't know how much competitive play that might see, but um, definitely will be brewing around this detachment. Although I don't believe I have any Crute shapers, so I'll definitely have to invest in a Crute shaper or two. Next, we have Admired Leader, Tau model only. In your command phase, you can select one Crute or Vespid unit within 12 of the bearer. And if you do until the start of the next command phase, you improve the leader characteristic by 1. And while the unit, if such a unit is not battle shocked, we can add 1 to the objective control of the units. So that can be really good. That can mean that uh, what's great about this is you can put this on anything. You could put this on an ethereal, have that ethereal hang out near your natural expansion with a unit of 20 carnivores, and now you have like 40 OC on the board there, which could be quite impressive to have 20 OC. Actually, crew carnivores have 2 OC each, so um, that would be even more, wouldn't it be? Yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. They be like 60 OC on a unit of 20 crew. Oh, it's Oh, no. We can put it on crew models. It just you cannot go on like a crew shaper or anything like that. But again, this could be a use for an ethereal to hold down your natural expansion. I don't really see this being useful for your home objective really, because there's so many different missions that don't even allow you to score for your home objective, but moving a ethereal over to a natural expansion and then putting a unit of 20 carnivores there now puts 60 OC on that board. So um, add that to possibly giving that unit 20-inch loan op with something like a ghost keel there or something like that, or 2 ghost keels. And now you have like an objective that you can't shoot at really, and has like a bazillion OC on it. So again, I could see a lot of uses for this admired leader, and again, could be pretty tough to get through that on an objective. Next, we have Fanatical Convert, Crew model only. The bearer's unit has for the greater good. So for 10 points, And for the price of owning a Kroot Shaper model, a Kroot leader model, which I joke because I don't have any, despite having a large Tau, a Tau army, the bearer's unit can have for the greater good. So while I wanted to see this as a detachment rule, they do give us the ability to give a single model for the greater good. Honestly, if I'm going to be bringing Kroot with a leader, this also seems pretty stapled to it. I mean, why not give it for the greater good? My biggest problem with bringing Kroot has always been that they can't benefit for the greater good, and they're just not powerful enough on their own to make it worth it in any of the other Tau detachments. This is pretty good. I like this, and I think this will be stapled to any Kroot model, Kroot leader that you bring for our Kroot unit. Next, we have Transponder Lock Module for 25 points. And this is a Tau Empire Walker model. So we're looking at Crisis Commanders here with the Deep Strike ability only. So again, Crisis Commanders. The Bearer's unit can be set up using the Deep Strike ability in the reinforcement step in the first, second, or third movement phase, regardless of any mission rules. During your first movement phase, when you set up the bearer's unit, it must be set up within 12 inches of a friendly Kroot or Vespid Stingwing unit and not within 9 inches of another enemy unit. So essentially, this allows us to give one of our crisis teams deep strike on turn one, but it has to be within 12 of a Kroot, Vespid, or Stingwing model. Um, that's okay. I don't believe that there are any. Are there any Kroot that have the um, infiltrator ability? I guess this would be decent with Kroot Farstalkers because you can start them in the middle of the board and then drop them within 25. Kind of, I think that's the best use for them because if you're not using it in the first battle round, then um, I think it loses a lot of its utility there. This is a great like alpha strike thing, but I think it's going to require you to run some far stalkers because you're going to want to get that infiltrate ability, seeing how you have to land within 12 and outside of 9. So not bad, not my favorite for sure. Some decent enhancements here. Now we're going to move on to the stratagems, and there's some pretty decent ones here. So let's go over it. We got in your shooting or fight phase, one Kroot or Vespid Stingwing unit from your model that has not been selected to shoot or fight this phase till the end of the phase. Improve the armor penetration of weapons equipped by that unit by 1. This is pretty good. It's great for Vespid because I think they already have AP2 on their neutron blasters, so AP3 damage 2 is pretty decent. It's also pretty good on a unit of 20 Kroot carnivores. They have a lot of shots in a 20-man unit, but no AP, so you get something out in the open or something that can that doesn't benefit from cover, or even if it does, I mean, this is going to help make Kroot a little bit more deadly. I also think this is great for things like Krootox Rampagers for their weapons in the fight phase. They get a lot of attacks, and improving the AP will help improve the viability of that unit. So I really like that as well. So experimental modifications, pretty decent. Multi-sensor scanning in your shooting or fight phase. One Tau Empire unit from your army that's not been selected to fight or shoot. Till the end of the phase, each time a model in the unit makes an attack, you can reroll a wound roll of 1. And if it's a Kroot or Vespid Stingwing unit, you can reroll the wound roll instead. So, I don't think this is ultimately fantastic. I think it definitely pushes you to use this on Kroot and Vespid. And the reason why is if you're bringing stealth suits, you're already re-rolling wound rolls of 1. And on your best Tau shooting, you're already going to be using for the greater good. So I don't think this is necessarily best used on Tau models at all. It's best to be used on Kroot or Vespid Stingwing. So in that aspect, it's not that great. I guess it could be used if you're not bringing as many stealth suits because you're trying to fit in the Kroot or Vespid. So I guess that's why this could be there. So, and in that aspect, if that's the way you're list building or this detachment ultimately brings list building, then this could be pretty decent. Interlocking maneuvers is next. End of the fight phase, one Tau Empire unit from your army eligible to fight this phase. If the unit is not within engagement range, we can make a normal move up to 6 inches. Otherwise, your unit can make a fallback move. It cannot embark into a transport at the end of the move if it disembarked from a transport this turn. So this is pretty decent because it's good for any unit. It could be for the it gives you a 6-inch move, so you could certainly use this to move Kroot into range for the detachment ability to give the -1 AP. You could use this on breachers or Tau infantry to move them out of harm's way, or to move them back a little bit, or to help them to move block. You could definitely use this to move block enemies, but it's also good for things like a piranha, things that don't normally have the fallback and shoot. It's a pretty decent thing. It has a lot of utility. This is a really big utility piece, and anything that allows for extra movement, especially out of the movement phase, is usually pretty powerful. So interlocking maneuvers, definitely a little feather in your cap. And could be used to great success. But again, I think it's going to be used in very sparing, situations. Next, we have Pheromone Waypoints, your movement phase. One Kroot or Vespid Stingwing unit from your model that has been selected to move this phase. Until the end of the phase, each time your unit advances, do not make an advance roll. Instead, until the end of the phase, add 6 inches to the move characteristics of models in that unit. So, I think this is great for things like Vespid Stingwings because they already have the assault keyword. So adding 6 inches to their 12-inch movement means they can move 18. I think that's really good. You could definitely use this on things like Rampagers to help get them up the board. And there's the next stratagem that we're going to talk about, Alien Expertise. In your movement phase, one Tau Empire unit from your army until the end of the phase. Your unit is eligible to shoot in a turn in which it advanced. And if it's a Kroot or Vespid Stingwing unit, you're eligible to declare a charge in turn in which you advance. So if you wanted to, and I don't know if this is a great use of a 2CP, but you could advance your Krutox Rampagers and then charge with them for another CP. So for 2CP, that could be pretty good, especially if you have a unit of 6 and those units are going to be getting up in the face of a bunch of other, like, against the line, your entire opponent's, like, defensive line. And now all of your Tau that target those units are going to get +1 AP. And then you're going to advance and charge with Rampagers, do their line breaker ability, and you could even, for another CP, give them an extra pip of AP as they attack as well. So, again, in a big turn, you got a bunch of CP, 1, 2, 3, and then you're doing a lot of damage. You could wipe out a whole unit shooting line, or even a melee army charging your lines as Tau. This happens a lot. A lot of players will try to charge Tau knowing that if I can get into their lines and start to mess them up, there's not much they can do about it. They can try to drop some crisis suits behind me and force me to stop penetrating their lines, but this could help us, like, wipe out whatever's in front of us and really take over the game. So again, it's a lot of CP, but I think these are pretty decent. These are pretty decent abilities. Again, anything that's allowing us to move more, advance and shoot, advance and charge. Again, the advance and shoot could also be used on a Riptide or Ghost Keel, like anything. We're going to be missing a lot of that, like advance and the advance rolls from Moncod. This kind of gives that to us. And then we have Guided Fire, which honestly, I think this is my favorite one. In the shooting phase, one Tau Empire unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot this phase. Until the end of the phase, add 1 to the strength characteristic of range weapons equipped by the model's unit. If the unit is wholly within 9 inches of one more crude or Vespid unit, you add 2 to the strength characteristic. This is huge because this makes a lot of Tau weapons super powerful. This means that we have a strength 10 cyclic ion raker from the Ghost Kill. This means that we can have a strength 11 heavy ion accelerator from the Riptide. This means we could have a strength 22 rail rifle, which, you know, can definitely change the math on a lot of T11 vehicles that now they are being wounded on twos. So really, it's just Land Raiders and big Primarchs that are not being wounded on twos. Again, I think this is mostly best used on things like, you know, basically all of the battle suits that need the extra strength on their weapons. Sunforge are going to love this because this is going to give the Sunforge T9, T10, T11 fusion blasters. This is going to give Fire Knives with missiles. Could give them T9 missiles. T9 missiles with negative, possibly -2/2 damage. And you can get 20 missile attacks with a commander and then the rest of the team. That's a lot of shots. That's a lot of shots, and that's very powerful. T9 missiles. I think the Fire Knives are like going to be a big part of this. I think they benefit a lot from the extra AP, but I think everything does. Like, I think this is a really powerful detachment for Tau. I'm actually really happy. I'm excited to brew around this. This definitely makes me want to invest in some Kroot models. I may look to try to pick up a Kroot box if they're still available after this comes out. But this is exciting. This is a very exciting detachment. I'm happy to see it. Let me know what you think about it. Go ahead and like the video if you enjoyed it, and please subscribe if you enjoyed these videos, because we're going to have a lot more coming out, including I'm going to try to come out with a list using the collection I have. Maybe we'll do something on New Recruit where I'll show you a list that I break down for models I don't have, and maybe models I'll be doing in the future. But really excited about the auxiliary cadre. So this has been Wounded on Sixes, and we are signing out. Bye-bye.